Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some gears, star powers and gadgets which you absolutely cannot live without on certain brawlers. So I typically do this every single season to give you guys a heads up on who really synergizes with a certain build. So hopefully this will really help you out. So before we jump into things, then make sure you're using a create code. That'd be greatly appreciated. And without further ado, let's jump into it. Firstly, we're going to be taking a look at Shelly's gadget, clay pigeons. So clay pigeons has always been pretty underrated, but ever since Shelly got the very fast movement speed, I think this gadget is definitely one of the best inside of the game. So clay pigeons, of course, it does a ton of damage, but I think the main reason why it's so OP is that it enables her to cycle her first super or just get the cycle going. It literally, with a couple of shots, 2 or 3 shots, you can charge your super fully, and then that just gives you so much pressure on the field. So for me, it's not even about finishing off kills, it's just getting that super. That's why clay pigeons is so good. But then again, it's just really good in other scenarios as well. Of course, it can just get your pressure, you know, for example, like a squishy brawler like B, you can pop gadget and make her pretty much one shot. She'll have to retreat and then you can just start pushing up. So for me, clay pigeons is a must buy. So moving on to the next brawler and the star power which you absolutely need, it is Sam and his hearty recovery star power. So ever since his star power came into the game, heart recovery was just completely broken. They nerfed it a little bit to 20% of your missing HP, and now with Sam, I feel like you literally cannot use a different star power. Like, even if they brought out a brand new star power instead of the terrible other one that they've got right now, I think hearty recovery would still just be a lot better because it allows him to stay alive in so many different scenarios. And I feel like without this star power, Sam would be terrible. Okay, so jumping into the next star power, which is pretty strong in terms of the build, it is well oiled with tick. So this star power has literally been a given on tick all of the time. So for me, I never ever switch off this one because it literally fits his build. I feel like tick would be one of the worst brawlers in the game without it. So if you're unsure on what this does, it just starts the health recovery an extra 2 seconds quicker. So specifically in a 1v1 against a thrower, this will literally save him the game. It will win you the game literally entirely. You can keep up the pressure, you can keep on taking damage, you know, for example against like a Sprout, you can tank a couple of shots and you just know by the time you're spamming out shots, you're just healing up consistently. So especially if you synergize this as well with the shield gear, I feel like you're just infinitely getting back that extra HP. Okay, so moving on to the next brawler, and which star power just completely complements their kit, it has to be Gasser Heal with Stu. So again, another one which is just pretty self-explanatory, but I feel like if you're playing the other star power, like, pretty underrated in some circumstances, right? But this one, it literally just fits his build. So for me, you know, I wouldn't even put it past him if it can literally add this into his kit, because I just can't switch off his star power. An extra 400 healing every single time you dash, it's just perfect for me. And especially when you're in a 1v1 against certain brawlers, it can really help you out because, you know, just a couple of dashes, that's an extra 1000 HP, and if you start chaining really well, you can easily climb like 2000 HP back with a few dashes. So for me, this star power is a must-have. So moving on to the next brawler, which you just cannot live without in terms of their build, it is the vision gear on Pam. So this one, I guess sometimes you can use Pam on maps which aren't really bushy, but whenever I'm trying to push Pam on ladder, I just think the vision gear is actually broken on Pam because, of course, she's got it really easy to scout in terms of just her main attack. When it comes down to the grass, you can easily just use one attack and scout so much of the bush, and then just literally one hit can give you the vision on them, and then you can just keep up the pressure like that. I just feel like it's just so toxic when you're using a vision gear on maps like Gem Fort, for example. There's a couple of scenarios like double swoosh as well, just easily going to keep track of the opponents. So for me, this is a must-have in terms of the build. Okay, so moving on to the next build, which you just cannot live without, it's actually going to be a couple with jeans. So it's actually going to be the Magic Puff star power and also the vision gear and even a mythic gear as well. I feel like if you switch off any of these gears, I feel like Jean just isn't the brawler which can compete at the top of the meta, specifically the vision gear for me. I think vision gear is just completely broken on Jean. It always has been. It's always been, like, since the beginning, like one that you just must have because it's so easy to scout the grass, and then again, keep up the pressure, keep trickling them down, and you can just gain so much map control with it. And then of course with the magic puffs as well, that's just been such a strong star power. You can think in so many different scenarios where you can just group up with Jean and win a 1v1 interaction so easily. So there's just so many good things about Jean's build which you just must upgrade on it. So jumping into the next brawler and the build that you need with him, so it has to be with Squeak and the residue gadget. So residue has been broken since beginning of time really. I think this gadget is just so busted wanted, because without it, Squeak really does struggle. So for me, you just have to have this gadget. It just gets you so much control, and you know, once he runs out of those gadgets, Squeak easily becomes like one of the worst brawlers in the game, because he just has no way to kind of control the way the kind of game goes. And of course, that's what Squeak is, a bit of a controller, especially with the way his attacks are kind of spammed out. So this residue gadget, you must have it. So jumping into the next gadget, I just cannot live without. It's the walking cane gadget with Grace. So this gadget, I feel like, doesn't really get the spotlight it really deserves. I think it's one of the best gadgets in the game, easily, and without it, Gray just isn't that kind of sneaky assassin, and also he just can't build up his super as well. And it really helps you as well to break up certain points on the map. I can think of Split, for example, where he can actually break up the map really well and literally win you the game because of that one entire wall break. But not only that, of course, it just helps you build up your super so quickly. So for me, Walking Cane is a must on Gray. Okay, so jumping into the next star power I cannot live without, it is Wild Flames with Amber. So just the way I play Amber, and a lot of different people play Amber, I think it just completely revolves around your super and kind of your gadgets. So not only does the gadget synergize with the star power, of course, your just supers synergize as well. You just can get so much control with this star power, and I feel like without it, you know, sometimes you really struggle to get your super. Say for example, someone's just camping behind a wall in backyard bowl, you're never going to get your super with Amber, so you're not going to get some control. But with this star power, you can easily get your super just by hiding behind a wall yourself. So I feel like the advantage is clearly in your hands when you have this star power. So jumping into the next star powers you cannot live without, it is both Chester's and Otis's star powers, which give them that extra kind of shot. So it's Bellamania and Ink Refills. So we talk about this time and time again, where these star powers could easily be a part of their base kit, and I think without it, they're literally one of the worst brawlers in the game. Like, Chester's already one of the worst brawlers anyway, so imagine without his Bellamania star power, he would just be absolutely terrible. He would have 0 DPS, and the same goes with Otis. You can remember when he was first released, he actually didn't have his star power straight away, and Otis was actually one of the worst brawlers ever released without that star power. So these star powers are must-haves. So moving on to the next star power, which is a must-have, it has to be Serve Ice to Cold. So again, ever since Surge's release, he used to have the other star power, which used to split not only around walls, so that used to be completely broken, and then they reworked it, and ever since this star power is just completely needed. The main reason is just because you don't even get any value out of the other star power, but this star power just gets infinite value. You just need to get your first level, and then you keep that second level pretty much all the time. And the first level Surge, let me tell you, is probably the worst brawler in the game. It has no range, it's super slow and so easy to kill. So of course, you definitely need this star power. So moving on to the next star power I cannot live without, it is In My Sights with Mandy. So I feel like this star power is completely needed. I've tried Mandy with the other star power, I just can't hit shots whatsoever. The enemy, all they need to do is open their eyes and they can dodge that long shot so easily, and you're not going to be able to build up your super. And then of course Mandy is just going to be super vulnerable. So I feel like In My Sights could easily just be a part of her base kit and kind of see where she can go from there, because of course Mandy isn't the best brawler right now. So moving on to the next thing you just cannot live without, it has to be the speed gear on a certain few brawlers. So for me, you have to have it on Ems, Sandy and Tara, for example. So ever since gears got introduced, the speed gear has just been insane on them, and it's still not changed whatsoever. I feel like it just really helps, especially with those brawlers, to close the gap and get so much position in it. It just really combines well. You think of Tara, for example, you can just get up close and personal and manage to get, you know, more shots to then charge your super. Ems, it just feels like you can control the situation a lot more. And then Sandy as well, he's already got a faster movement speed than most other brawlers, so combine the speed gear with his already fast movement speed, he's just going to be so fast around the map. So for me, you need the speed gear on these brawlers. And finally, moving on to the last gear I cannot live without on specific brawlers, it has to be the shield gear on assassin brawlers. So for me, I think it's the perfect synergy. I don't know about you guys, you might use a different build, but for me, I have to use shield gear on, for example, when I use like Fang, when I use Buzz or Mortis or a brawler like that, even like Gray, like a secret assassin, I have to use the shield gear. I just feel like they're just a bit too squishy for certain scenarios. You know, for example, like Buzz, I feel like I can tank a lot more if I have the shield gear. I know I can be a lot more of a threat with my super. The same with Fang, I know I'm going to give that extra bit of survivability when I go in. I just feel like it just gives you that extra bit of cushion, which you really need in a 1v1. Alright guys, it's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know whether there's any star powers, gadgets or gears that I missed out on in terms of, you know, which there just wouldn't be the same brawler without them, if you get what I mean. Of course, there's probably a few other scenarios as well. I feel like for the most part, of course, star powers and gadgets are going to help a brawler overall. But there's a few in particular which you just cannot, of course, not upgrade. You know, for example, as well, Carl, Flying Hook. I feel like I literally couldn't play Carl without this gadget. So that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.